Snow fell in thick sheets over Vega X, a frozen world forgotten by most star charts. The wind screamed across the jagged ice ridges, carving shapes that looked almost alive in the shifting light. Far above, something broke through the cloud cover, a small battered escape pod tumbling end over end like a discarded toy. Fire trailed behind it, brief and desperate before the cold swallowed it whole. Inside the pod, Dale Thorne groaned. His head throbbed, his ribs ached, and his hands trembled as he fumbled with the release latch. Alarms had stopped blaring minutes ago. The lights flickered once, then died. All that remained was the howl of the storm and the creak of metal giving way to the cold. He was alone. The iron mule, his freighter, was gone, blasted apart by something fast and silent that had appeared out of nowhere. One moment they were hauling grain and synth fuel to Outpost Delta 9. The next, plasma fire tore through the hull like paper. Dale had barely made it to the pod before the ship folded in on itself. Now he was crashing onto a world not even listed in standard navigation logs. The pod hit the ridge with a bone-jarring crunch. Ice shattered. Metal screamed. Dale's vision swam, but he forced himself upright. Oxygen was running low. Temperature inside had already dropped below freezing. If he stayed, he'd die before sunrise. He kicked open the hatch. Wind and snow rushed in like a living thing, stealing his breath. He pulled his thermal coat tighter and stumbled out, boots sinking into knee-deep snow. Every step burned. His fingers went numb within seconds. He had maybe 10 minutes before hypothermia set in. He needed shelter. Fast. But Vega X offered none, just endless white sharp ice and the groaning of glaciers shifting deep below. Dale staggered forward, eyes scanning for anything. A cave, a rock overhang, even a ditch. Nothing. His legs grew heavier. His thoughts blurred. He thought of his sister back on Ceres Colony, waiting for his next paycheck. He thought of the crew, Hendricks, Luo, Old Man Pete, gone in an instant. Then he saw her, standing at the edge of the ridge, unmoving as if carved from the ice itself. Tall and slender, her skin pale like birch bark under moonlight. Long, silver-white hair streamed behind her, untouched by the wind as though time bent around her. Her eyes glowed faintly violet, sharp and unreadable. She wore a dark layered cloak that shimmered like frozen oil, and at her side crouched a creature no bigger than a wolf, but covered in iridescent scales, with wings folded tight against its back and steam curling from its nostrils. Dale froze, not from the cold, from fear. He'd heard stories. Ghost women of the Outer Rim. Silthari scouts, some said. Others called them myths. But this one was real, and she was watching him like he was either prey or a problem. Before he could speak, she stepped forward. Her boots made no sound on the snow. The creature beside her lifted its head, amber eyes locking onto Dale with unnerving focus. It let out a low rumbling purr, not a threat but something close to curiosity. Quiet, human. We're freezing. Get in my bed now, she snapped. Her voice was sharp but not unkind, melodic even, with a strange lilt that made each word feel weighted. Dale blinked. He must be hallucinating. No one lived out here. No one sane anyway. I can't, he stammered, teeth chattering. I don't even know you. She tilted her head as if his words were both obvious and foolish. Ember says you're warm and useful. Come now. Ember. The dragon, because that's what it had to be, snorted a puff of steam and padded forward. It nudged Dale's leg with its snout, surprisingly gentle. Heat radiated from its body like a small furnace. Dale's frozen fingers twitched toward it instinctively. Look, he said, voice weak. I appreciate the offer, but I don't want to cause trouble. You already did, she said flatly. Your pod signal lit up 3 Krellin trackers. They'll be here by dawn. Unless you want to be dissected for sport, move your feet. That got his attention. Krellins, the galaxy's most ruthless scavenger warriors. They didn't take prisoners. They took parts. He didn't argue again. He followed her. They walked for what felt like hours, though Dale guessed it was only 20 minutes. The woman moved with impossible grace over the ice, never slipping, never slowing. Ember stayed close to Dale, its warmth a small miracle against the biting cold. Finally, they reached a narrow fissure in the glacier wall, nearly invisible unless you knew where to look. She pressed her palm against the ice. Symbols flared briefly, blue, ancient, and the wall slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, the air was still dry and blessedly warm. The space was carved from solid ice but lined with glowing moss and smooth stone. A firestone hearth pulsed with steady heat in the center. Furs, tools, and strange crystalline devices lined the walls. Get in, she ordered, stepping aside. Dale stumbled inside, his legs finally giving out. He collapsed near the hearth, shivering violently. Ember curled beside him immediately, pressing its scaled side against his back. The heat soaked into his bones like a promise. "Who are you?" he asked, voice hoarse. "Lyra Voss," she said, unfastening her cloak. "Exiled, inconvenient, alive. For now. And that's Ember?" "Yes, my dragon. My only friend. Don't touch her wings unless she offers." Dale nodded weakly. "Thank you. For saving me." Lyra studied him for a long moment, her violet eyes unreadable. "I didn't save you, human. Ember did. And maybe the ice had other plans." She turned away, tending to a small pot over the firestone. The scent of something herbal filled the air. Outside, the storm raged on. But here, in this hidden den beneath the glacier, Dale felt something he hadn't in years. Safety. Still, questions burned in his mind. Who was she, really? Why was she alone on this frozen rock? And what did she mean about Krellin trackers? But exhaustion won. His eyes grew heavy. Ember's steady breathing matched his own. The last thing he saw before sleep took him was Lyra sitting cross-legged by the fire, staring into the glowing embers, her expression distant, as if listening to something far beyond the walls of ice, somewhere deep in the glacier. A low hum began, soft, ancient, and growing stronger. Morning came without sun. On Vega Nyx, dawn was only a softening of the dark, a pale gray seeping through the ice walls of Lyra's den. Dale woke to the sound of Ember's quiet breathing and the crackle of the firestone. His body ached less, his mind clearer. He sat up slowly, wrapping the thick fur tighter around his shoulders. Across the room, Lyra stood near a wall of carved ice, tracing symbols with her fingertips. She hadn't slept. Her eyes were tired but alert, like a sentry who knew danger never truly slept. "You're awake," she said without turning. "Good. Eat." She tossed him a small pouch. Inside were dried strips of something chewy and slightly sweet. Meat, maybe, but not from any animal he knew. It tasted like smoked nuts and iron. He ate without complaint. Hunger had stripped him of pickiness. "Who are the Krellins?" he asked between bites. Lyra finally turned. Her violet eyes narrowed. "They are hunters. Not for food, for fear. They destroy worlds not because they need them, but because they enjoy the silence after the screaming stops." Dale swallowed hard. That's what happened to the Iron Mule. One minute we were fine, the next plasma fire, no warning, no hail. Just death. "They do not warn," Lyra said flatly. "Warning gives hope. Krellins hate hope." Ember patted over and nudged Dale's hand with its snout. He scratched behind its horns and the dragon let out a low, pleased rumble. Heat pulsed from its body, steady and strong. "How did you end up here?" Dale asked. "On this frozen rock, alone with a dragon?" Lyra was quiet for a long time. Then she walked to the far corner and pulled out a small, smooth stone that glowed faintly blue. She held it like it was both precious and painful. "My people are called the Silthari," she began. "We live beyond the Orion Veil, in star systems hidden by ancient cloaks of light and sound. We do not fight. We watch, we remember. For 10,000 years we kept peace by staying unseen. But then the Krellins came, not to our worlds at first. They burned human colonies, Xenian outposts, free trader hubs. My council said do nothing. Non-intervention is our law. But I could not watch, not when children were turned into data ghosts, their minds harvested for war simulations. So I broke the law. I stole a war dragon egg from the sacred vaults. The last one. The others were destroyed centuries ago when we abandoned war. I fled before they could sentence me to memory wipe. The egg hatched in deep space. Ember chose me, not because I was worthy, but because I was angry. Dragons bond to fire in the soul, not rank or blood. Dale looked at Ember, who blinked slowly as if understanding every word. "So you've been running ever since? Running, hiding, surviving." "Yes. Vega Nyx is off all charts. The ice hides our heat. The glacier hums with old Silthari resonance. It masks signals. It is the perfect grave. Or sanctuary. Why help me then?" Dale asked. "You could have left me to freeze." Lyra's gaze softened just a little. "Ember liked your heartbeat, said it was steady even in fear. And I saw the pod's insignia. Ceres freight. My mother once traded star moss with Ceres botanists. Small kindnesses echo. Human." Dale didn't know what to say to that, so he asked another question. "How old is Ember?" 3 cycles. Young for a war dragon. They live centuries, but they grow fast when bonded to strong wills. She is small now, but she can melt steel with one breath if she chooses. As if on cue, Ember stretched her wings, translucent, veined with gold, and let out a tiny puff of flame that danced in the air before vanishing. Dale flinched, but Lyra didn't even blink. She is learning control, Lyra said. Anger is easy. Restraint is power. Over the next few days, Dale learned more. Lyra taught him how to read the ice winds, how a shift in tone meant a storm was coming, how certain cracks in the glacier signaled deep tremors. She showed him how to move without leaving a thermal trace, wrapping his boots in layered moss and breathing through a cloth to mask his heat. In return, he fixed her broken comms array using parts from his escape pod. Wires, capacitors, a cracked relay. He made it sing again. The first night it worked. Static filled the den. Then a voice. Faint, broken, but human. Anyone, Outpost Theta. Krellins, please. Lyra's hand shot out and cut the signal. Her face was tight. That was a trap, she said. Krellins broadcast fake distress calls. They wait for rescuers to gather, then strike all at once, efficient, cruel. But what if it's real? Dale pressed. What if someone's actually out there? Then they are already dead, Lyra said coldly. Or worse. But Ember whined, low and mournful. She pressed her head against Dale's leg, then looked at Lyra with wide, pleading eyes. Dragons sense truth in voices, Lyra admitted quietly. Ember believes it is real. Dale's chest tightened. He thought of his crew again. No one came for them. No one even tried. We have to check, he said. No, we do not, Lyra snapped. It is suicide. Then let me go alone. You will die in 6 hours. Then I die trying. Better than hiding while others suffer. Lyra stared at him. Her expression shifted. Anger, frustration, then something like reluctant respect. You humans are stubborn. Like frost on glass. Impossible to wipe clean. She turned and walked to a hidden compartment in the ice wall. From it, she pulled a slender blade that shimmered like liquid silver, and a small round device that pulsed with soft light. If we go smart, she said. Not brave, smart. This is a phase cloak. It bends light and heat for short bursts, enough to get close. And this, she tapped the blade, is memory steel. It remembers every enemy it cuts. Krellin armor cannot stop it. Dale nodded. I'm ready. Not yet, she said. First you learn silence. For 2 days they trained. Dale practiced moving like shadow, speaking only in whispers, even breathing slow and shallow. Lyra showed him how to read Krellin drone patterns, how they scanned in spirals, how their sensors failed in magnetic ice zones. Ember carried small packs on her back, testing weight and balance. She grew stronger, her scales darkening to a deep copper at the edges. On the 3rd night, the comms crackled again. Same voice. Weaker now. Maya. Outpost Theta. Cold, so cold. This time Lyra did not cut the signal. She listened. Her fingers curled into fists. Maya Ellis, she said softly. 16. Daughter of Dr. Ellis, xenolinguist. They were mapping glacier caves for geothermal vents. The outpost was secret, not on any public log, so it's real, Dale said. Yes, and the Krellins found it. They are waiting. They want more than one victim. They want an audience, Ember growled, a sound like distant thunder. Then we give them a show they won't survive, Dale said. Lyra looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. But we do it my way. No heroics. No last stands. We get the girl and vanish. Understood? Understood. She handed him a thin suit lined with thermal mesh, and a small earpiece that hummed with Siltheri frequency. Ember nuzzled his hand one last time before curling near the firestone. Rest? Lyra said. We leave at false dawn. Dale lay down, but sleep would not come. He thought of Maya, alone in the dark, thinking no one would come. He thought of Lyra, exiled for doing what was right, and Ember, small but fierce, a spark of ancient fire in a dying galaxy. Outside, the wind howled, but deep beneath the ice, something else stirred. A low hum, older than stars, began to rise, as if the glacier itself was waking. Lyra stood by the entrance, watching the sky. Her hand rested on Ember's head. Her voice was barely a whisper. Forgive me, Council, but some laws should be broken. And for the first time in years, she smiled, small, sharp, and full of fire. False dawn came as a pale silver line along the eastern ridge. The storm had passed, leaving the world crisp and silent as if holding its breath. Lyra stood at the entrance of the den, cloaked in shadow-gray fabric that shifted with the light. Ember crouched beside her, Wings tucked tight, scales dulled to match the snow. Dale adjusted the thermal suit, the phase cloak humming softly against his back. His hands were steady now. Fear was still there, but it no longer ruled him. "We move like ghosts," Lyra whispered. "No sound, no heat. Stay in my shadow." They left the den without another word. The ice crunched faintly underfoot, but Lyra's steps left no mark. Her boots were lined with living moss that absorbed pressure and warmth. Ember glided more than walked, her claws retracting with each step. Dale followed, mimicking their rhythm, his breath slow and even. The journey to Outpost Theta took hours. They avoided open ground, sticking to glacier cracks and wind-carved tunnels. Lyra paused often, listening. Once she held up a hand. Dale froze. A Krellin drone hovered 50 meters ahead, shaped like a twisted insect, its red eye scanning the snow. It pulsed with low-frequency sonar. Lyra activated the phase cloak. For 10 heartbeats they vanished, light bent around them, heat masked by Silthari tech. The drone passed without noticing. "You learn fast," she murmured when it was gone. Dale only nodded. He was saving his breath. By mid-cycle, they reached the edge of the outpost zone. What remained of Theta was half buried in ice, its dome shattered, walls scorched black. No bodies, no blood, just silence and the sharp tang of ionized air. Krellins cleaned their kills well. Lyra signaled for Dale to stay hidden behind a ridge. She and Ember crept forward, low and silent. Dale watched through thermal lenses Lyra had given him. The outpost showed no heat signatures, except one. Faint. Deep below, in the collapsed east wing, beneath 3 layers of rubble and ice, a single life sign flickered. Weak but steady. Lyra returned quickly, her expression grim. "She's in a cryo-maintenance vault, shielded. That's why she's alive. Krellins can't melt through cryo-steel without triggering alarms, so they wait. They want her to wake up, to scream, to call for help. They're using her as bait," Dale said. "Yes. And now they have 2 more bites." Ember growled softly, smoke curling from her nostrils. "We can't go in the front," Lyra said. "But there's an old Silthari vent beneath the glacier. My ancestors built it when they first mapped this world. It leads straight to the vault core." "You knew about this?" "I suspected." The hum in the ice. "It matches Silthari resonance patterns. This whole region was once a listening post. Abandoned but not dead." They circled west, descending into a narrow crevasse where the ice glowed faintly blue. The walls were smooth, carved not by nature but by tools older than human history. Symbols pulsed under Lyra's touch, lighting their path. Ember's claws clicked softly against the floor, her eyes wide with recognition. She knows this place, Dale realized. "Dragons remember what their riders forget," Lyra said. "Ember's bloodline served here long ago. The memory is in her bones." The tunnel sloped downward for nearly a kilometer before opening into a circular chamber. In the center stood a pedestal of black stone covered in frost. Above it, the ceiling shimmered with trapped starlight, real starlight, somehow piped from the surface through crystal veins. "This is a resonance node," Lyra whispered. "Dormant, but alive." Dale looked around. The air felt thick, charged. Like standing inside a sleeping mind. "Can it help us?" "Maybe, if we wake it carefully. But not now." "Not yet," they moved on. The tunnel ended at a metal hatch sealed tight. Lyra placed her palm on it. Nothing happened. She frowned. Human lock. Biometric. Dead. Dale stepped forward. "Let me try." He pulled a thin wire from his belt and slipped it into the access panel. Minutes ticked by. Then a soft click. The hatch hissed open. "How?" Lyra asked. "Old freighter trick. Bypass the bioscan with a heat mimic. I used Ember's scale as a thermal key." Lyra looked at Ember, who puffed proudly. "Clever human," she said. Beyond the hatch lay a dark corridor, lined with broken lights and frozen pipes. The air was colder here, stale. They moved quickly, weapons ready. No drones, no guards, just waiting silence, then a sound. Faint. Rhythmic. Tapping, metal on metal. They followed it to a sealed cryo vault. The door was warped, half melted, but still holding. Inside, a small figure huddled in the corner, wrapped in a torn thermal blanket. Her face was pale, lips blue, but her eyes were open, wide with fear and hope. Maya Ellis, 16. Thin, with messy brown hair, and hands raw from cold. She held a wrench, tapping it against the wall like a heartbeat. Dale pressed his face to the viewport. "Maya." "It's okay. We're here." Her eyes widened. Tears froze on her cheeks. You're real? Lyra examined the lock. Krellin plasma scorched it shut, but not perfectly. She pulled out the memory steel blade and slid it into the seam. The metal hissed. The blade glowed. With a sharp twist, the door groaned open. Maya stumbled out, nearly collapsing. Dale caught her. She was light as a bird, shaking violently. They killed everyone, she whispered. Mom, Dr. Lee, the whole team. They came in the night. No warning. Just fire and screams. I hid in the cryo vault. The emergency protocol sealed it, but the power's failing. I thought no one would come. Someone always comes, Dale said gently, even if it takes a while. Lyra scanned the corridor. We cannot stay. They know she's awake now. They'll come. As if on cue, a distant hum filled the air, low mechanical. Growing louder, Krellin dropship, Lyra said. They're landing, Ember growled, stepping in front of Maya. Her scales darkened to near black. We go back through the node chamber, Lyra said. It's our only chance, they ran. Maya clung to Dale's arm, her steps unsteady but determined. Ember led the way, tail flicking like a warning. Behind them, the hum turned to thunder. Metal boots hit the floor above. Voices, guttural, sharp, echoed through the halls. The node chamber was just ahead, but as they entered, the black pedestal began to glow. Blue light spread across the floor in intricate patterns. The air vibrated. It's reacting to us, Dale said. To her, Lyra corrected, looking at Maya. Her bloodline. Dr. Ellis studied Siltheri ruins. Maybe she carries a resonance echo. Maya looked confused. My mom said I had weird dreams about singing stones. She thought it was just imagination. Not imagination, Lyra said. Inheritance. The chamber shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Outside, the dropship's engines roared. They're here. Ember hissed. Yes, hissed, in a voice like crackling embers. Lyra made a decision fast. Dale, take Maya to the far wall. Ember, guard them. I will try to wake the node, but Dale started. No time. Trust me. She stepped onto the pedestal, raising her arms. She began to hum. Not a song, but a tone. Deep, resonant, vibrating in the bones. The glyphs on the floor flared brighter. The starlight above swirled. Maya gasped. I know this sound. I've heard it in my dreams. Join her, Lyra said without opening her eyes. If you hear it in your blood, sing it. Maya hesitated, then closed her eyes. A soft note escaped her lips, thin at first, then stronger. The chamber responded. The hum deepened. The ice walls trembled. Above, the Krellins broke through, 3 of them, tall, armored in jagged black plates, faces hidden behind red-lensed masks, plasma rifles raised. They saw the humans, the dragon, the glowing chamber. One laughed. A wet, clicking sound. Easy prey, it said. Ember launched herself forward with a roar, fire bursting from her jaws. The lead Krellin fired. Plasma seared the air. Ember twisted mid-air, dodging, and slammed into the second soldier, claws tearing through armor like paper. Dale pulled Maya behind a stone pillar. Lyra never stopped singing. The node pulsed faster. Cracks spread across the floor, glowing blue. The third Krellin aimed at Lyra. No, Dale shouted. He threw a piece of broken pipe. It struck the Krellin's arm. The shot went wide, melting the wall instead. The creature snarled and turned on him. Maya screamed, but then she did something unexpected. She grabbed a shard of glowing ice from the floor and hurled it at the Krellin's visor. It shattered on impact. The creature howled. Siltheri ice burned their eyes. Lyra's voice rose. The node answered. A wave of blue energy erupted from the pedestal, throwing the Krellins back. Ember finished the second one with a blast of fire. The third scrambled up, wounded but furious. It raised its rifle one last time, but the floor gave way beneath it. The glacier, awakened by the resonance, split open. The Krellin fell into darkness, screaming. Silence returned. Ember panted, smoke rising from her sides. Maya collapsed against Dale, sobbing quietly. Lyra stepped down from the pedestal, exhausted but alert. They will send more, she said. This was only a scout team. Then we finish this, Dale said. Not by running. By fighting. Lyra looked at the glowing node, then at Maya, who still held a piece of singing ice in her hand, then at Ember, who nuzzled her leg. Maybe, she said slowly, we do not need to run at all. Maybe we make the ice fight for us. The node chamber pulsed like a slow heartbeat, blue light rippling across the walls. Lyra knelt by the pedestal, fingers tracing the glowing cracks in the floor. Her breath came fast, not from fear but from realization. The Silthari had not just built listening posts on Vega X. They had woven the entire glacier into a weapon. Dormant, yes, but not broken. Maya sat wrapped in a spare thermal blanket, eyes wide as she watched the light dance across her palms. "It still hums," she whispered. Inside me, Lyra looked at her. "Your mother studied our ruins. Did she ever speak of resonance bonds?" Maya nodded slowly. "She said some humans could hear the old songs, that it meant something, but the Science Council called it fantasy. They stopped her funding." "Fantasy is just truth waiting to be remembered," Lyra said. "And you, Maya Ellis, are a key." Dale stood near the entrance, scanning the tunnel with a salvaged Krellin scope. No movement yet, but he knew they were coming. More ships. More soldiers. Maybe even a command dreadnought. The Krellins did not forgive failure. "What do we do?" he asked. "We wake the glacier," Lyra said. "Fully. The node here is linked to others across the ice field. If we activate them all at once, the resonance will shatter the crust. The ground will melt, then collapse. Anything on the surface, ships, soldiers, drones, will be swallowed." Dale frowned. "That sounds like suicide. We're underground." "Not if we stand at the heart," Lyra said. "The node protects its own, but it needs a living Silthari to channel the energy, and I am exiled. My bond to the network is severed." Ember pressed against her side, rumbling low in her throat. Lyra placed a hand on the dragon's head. Unless she looked at Ember. Really looked. Not as a pet. Not as a weapon. But as the last war dragon of her people. A creature born of fire and ancient magic tied to her by choice, not blood. "Dragon and rider share more than loyalty," she said softly. "We share a resonance of our own." "You mean Ember can take your place in the network?" Dale asked. "Not take. Join. The node does not care for titles. It cares for harmony. Ember's fire is pure. Her will is strong, and she chose me when no one else would." Maya stood up, swaying slightly but determined. "Then I'll help too. If my blood sings, I'll sing back." Lyra studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Good. We will need every voice." They worked fast. Dale rigged the Krellin comms unit to broadcast a false signal, a looping distress call loud enough to draw the fleet closer. Maya helped map the node connections using her mother's old notes, which she had memorized. Lyra prepared Ember, pressing her forehead to the dragons, whispering words in the old tongue. Ember's scales shifted from black to deep crimson, heat radiating in waves. By the time the first dropship appeared on the surface, they were ready. The plan was simple. Lure the Krellins into the ice field. Activate the nodes in sequence. Let the glacier do the rest. Dale climbed to a high ridge with the comms unit hidden behind a snowdrift. Below, 3 dropships landed in a triangle around the outpost ruins. Armored figures poured out, scanning, searching. They found the broken vault, the dead scouts, and the trail leading underground. "They're coming," Dale whispered into the earpiece. "Then begin," Lyra replied. He sent the signal. A burst of static, then a looping cry. Maya's voice edited to sound terrified, begging for help. The Krellins paused. Then as one, they turned toward the ridge. More ships descended from the clouds, 5, then 10. A full strike force. "Good," Lyra said. "Let them gather." Deep below, in the heart chamber, the 3 of them stood on the central node. Ember coiled around Lyra's feet, wings half spread. Maya held Lyra's left hand. Dale stood behind them, guarding the entrance with a plasma rifle he'd taken from a dead scout. Lyra closed her eyes. Ember lowered her head. Maya took a deep breath and they began to sing, not with words, with tones. Lyra's voice was low and steady like stone under pressure. Maya's was higher, clear, and bright like ice cracking in spring. Ember did not sing with her mouth. She vibrated her entire body, a deep thrum that shook the air. The node responded instantly. Blue fire raced through the floor, up the walls, into the ceiling. Above, the glacier groaned. The first crack appeared on the surface, a thin black line racing toward the nearest dropship. The Krellins froze. Then the ice split open, not slowly, violently. A geyser of superheated steam erupted, melting armor, swallowing soldiers whole. Chaos erupted. Ships tried to lift off, but the ground beneath them turned to slush. Others fired blindly into the ice, but their plasma shots only made the resonance stronger. The glacier was alive now, angry, ancient. In the chamber, Lyra swayed. Sweat beaded on her brow. Maintaining the song was draining her. Ember's scales dimmed slightly. Maya's voice cracked. "Hold," Lyra gasped. "Just a little longer." Dale watched the entrance. Shadows moved in the tunnel. Krellin elites, black armor, red blades, no helmets. Their eyes glowed yellow. They had come to kill the source. "I've got company," he said. "Go," Lyra said without opening her eyes. "Protect the circle." Dale stepped into the tunnel, rifle raised. The first elite charged. Dale fired. Plasma hit its chest, but the armor held. The creature laughed and swung its blade. Dale ducked. The blade sliced the wall, sparking. He was outmatched. But he didn't need to win. He just needed to buy time. He threw a thermal grenade down the tunnel. The explosion filled the passage with fire and debris. The elites roared, slowed but not stopped. Back in the chamber, the song reached its peak. The walls glowed white-hot. The ceiling rained molten ice. Maya cried out but did not stop. Ember's body pulsed with light. Her fire now blew at the core. The main Krellin command ship hovered above the ridge, preparing to bombard the area. But the glacier had other plans. A massive column of ice, taller than a tower, rose from the ground and speared the ship's hull. Metal screamed. The ship tilted, then broke in half, spilling fire into the snow. Below, the ground collapsed in a perfect circle. Everything within a kilometer dropped into a newly formed chasm, swallowed by boiling water and shifting ice. In the heart chamber, the light faded. The song ended. Silence, Lyra collapsed to her knees. Ember curled around her, panting. Maya sank to the floor, tears streaming down her face. Dale limped back in, bleeding from a cut on his arm, but alive. "Did it work?" he asked. Lyra looked up. Through a crack in the ceiling, they saw the sky. No ships, no lights. Just falling snow? "Yes," she said. "They are gone, but at what cost?" Maya whispered. Lyra placed a hand on her shoulder. "The cost of silence is higher. Always." Ember nudged Dale's leg, offering warmth. He smiled weakly. "Now what?" he asked. "Now," Lyra said, "we rest. Then we rebuild. The Krellins will return, but next time they will know. Vega X is not empty, it is guarded." And as the snow fell gently over the scarred ice field, the glacier hummed once more. Soft. Satisfied. Awake. Days passed in quiet rhythm beneath the ice. The storm had returned softer this time, wrapping Vega X in a hush that felt less like emptiness and more like peace. The chasm left by the glacier's awakening had already begun to fill with snow, hiding the wreckage of Krellin ships under a clean white blanket. Above, the sky was empty. No drones, no signals. Just the slow turn of distant stars. In the heart chamber, now warmed by 3 firestones and lined with salvaged insulation from the outpost, life settled into something close to normal. Maya slept near the wall, wrapped in furs, her breathing steady. Her fever had broken the night after the battle, and though her hands still shook sometimes, her eyes were clear. She spent hours sketching the node patterns in a scorched notebook, humming under her breath as if trying to remember a dream. Dale worked near the entrance, piecing together a transmitter from Krellin parts and human scraps. His fingers moved with quiet purpose, soldering wires, testing frequencies. He hadn't spoken much since the fight, but his presence was steady. Like a stone in a river, Ember often lay beside him, her heat keeping his hands from freezing as he worked. Lyra sat apart, near the pedestal. She had not sung since that night. Her voice was raw, her energy low. Exile had taken more from her than she let on. But Ember stayed close, pressing her scaled side against Lyra's back, sharing warmth, sharing strength. Sometimes Lyra would rest her forehead on Ember's neck and close her eyes, not sleeping, just listening to the dragon's heartbeat, to the glacier's hum, to the silence between breaths. "You did it," Dale said one evening, not looking up from his work. "You stopped them." Lyra shook her head. "We did it, Ember, Maya, you, the ice. Even the dead, maybe. Their silence gave us rage. Their memory gave us fire." Dale finally looked at her. "What now?" "The fleet will notice the missing ships. They'll send more. Bigger." "I know," Lyra said. "But they will not come alone next time. They will bring hunters, seekers, minds that can unravel Silthari resonance. We cannot win by hiding forever. So what do? We become a story," she said. "Not a secret. A warning. Let them hear that on Vega I, the ice fights back, that a human girl, an exiled scout, and a dragon turned their hunger into ash." Maya stirred, hearing her name. "I can help," she said softly. "My mom's research. It wasn't just about ruins. She found records, old ones, about other Silthari nodes. On other worlds, maybe we're not the only ones." Lyra's eyes widened slightly. "Where?" Maya sat up, pulling the notebook to her lap. "Ceres colony has a vault. Level 9. Sealed after the Xenian Treaty. Mom said it held artifacts too dangerous to study, but she copied the coordinates. She thought they were songs. Dale stopped working. You mean there could be more places like this? Maybe, maybe not. But if the Krellins are hunting worlds and if those worlds have sleeping nodes, then someone should wake them. A slow smile touched Lyra's lips. Your mother was wiser than the council knew. Ember lifted her head and let out a soft chuff as if in agreement. Over the next week, they prepared. Dale finished the transmitter. It was crude but strong enough to punch through the ion storms that cloaked Vega X. He sent a coded message to the nearest human fleet. Coordinates, warning, and a single line. Theta outpost survivors alive. Krellins defeated. Do not send rescue. Send ears. He didn't ask for help. He asked for silence, and for someone to listen. Maya taught Lyra human words for things like hope, stubborn, and home. Lyra taught Maya the Silthari tones for courage, bond, and dawn. Ember learned to carry packs on her back. Her wings strong enough now to lift small loads. She practiced short flights in the larger ice caverns. Her fire controlled precise one night. As the auroras danced green and violet across the sky, Lyra stood at the surface entrance, cloak pulled tight. Dale joined her. You're thinking of leaving, he said. Not leaving, she said. Expanding. The node here is stable. It will guard this place. But the Krellins will not stop. And I cannot unbreak my exile, but I can make it mean something. You're going after the other nodes. Yes. With Ember, and Maya if she wishes. She carries the echo. She is needed. What about me? Lyra turned to him. You have a sister on Ceres, a life waiting. You do not belong in the shadows with exiles and dragons. I belong where I'm useful, Dale said, and right now that's with you. She studied him. His tired eyes, his scarred hands, the quiet strength in his stance. Then she nodded. Very well, but know this, Dale Thorne. Once we step beyond Vega X, there is no turning back. The galaxy will know our names, and the Krellins will hunt us like stars. Let them, he said, will burn brighter. Below, Maya appeared at the tunnel mouth, bundled in furs, a small pack on her shoulders. Ember followed, wings folded, eyes gleaming. Ready, she said. Lyra looked at her dragon. Ember blinked once. A promise. They descended into the den one last time. Lyra placed her hand on the pedestal. A final hum passed between them, the glacier and the scout. Then she turned off the firestones. The chamber went dark but not cold. The ice remembered their warmth. As they walked away, the entrance sealed behind them, frost blooming over the opening like a closing eye. Weeks later, a human scout ship passed near Vega X. Its sensors picked up nothing unusual, just ice, wind, and silence. But the comms officer swore he heard a faint hum on the edge of static, like a song, like a warning. He logged it as interference, but he did not forget. Far away in the uncharted dark between stars, a small ship with no name drifted. Inside, a girl hummed while tracing star maps. A man checked the engines, his hands steady. A woman stood at the viewport, silver hair catching the light of a dying sun, and curled at her feet a dragon dreamed of fire and ice. They were not heroes. Not yet, but they were awake. And they were not alone. Somewhere deep in the void, another node began to hum. Faintly, hopefully, waiting.